Hey, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this edition of ClarITea Chat. I have with me Narendra Agrawal, the Group CIO of Dabur. Hi, Narendra.
Hey, Jagdish. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Where's your cup of tea?
That's the golden question you got right today.
Welcome, Narendra, to this session. This is the 45th episode of the ClarITea Chat. And thank you all the audience for attending this or watching the recordings and encouraging us from all over the world. And that's what keeps us going week after week. So Narendra is the global CIO of Dabur India with us today. Dabur is the fourth largest FMCG company in India, maybe one of the India's most trusted names, built on a legacy of quality and experience of 137 years. So Narendra rose from very humble beginnings in Mumbai, and his journey is an inspiration in itself. He has 16 years of experience ranging from Amdocs, Capgemini, and Unilever before taking over as global CIO of Dabur India about a year ago. I think Narendra, you became a group CIO at the age of 36, right?
Yeah, 36. That's correct.
Yeah, and so I mean, I'm sure there's a trail that you have blazed that we will get to hear from you, and I'm keenly looking forward to it, especially the fact that we share many things in common.
Yeah.
I had known the CIO at 37, and you bet me by a year. Okay. Yeah, so our chat with Narendra will cover how he handled transformation programs from supply chain to finance to customer facing functions, even IT integration as part of M&As. And I think he has some tremendous insights on business connect, even while resolving technology challenges at the back end. One of the things that will come out very clearly, in our chat is the fiercely independent nature of Narendra in terms of being his own man. And which has helped him break all the barriers, which we'll pick his brains on. And of course, building trust with the stakeholders all along the way. He has been a young achiever, so he will share insights about, networking and mentoring and being visible. And I think the biggest one for everyone in the audience would be, coming out of comfort zones. In fact, the latest one being coming over to Dabur. His philosophy is bringing IT from backend to backend enterprise facing to front facing customer facing function, and I think that's what digital transformation is all about. Bringing IT from the somewhere in the back room to right in the front office. And I think it will get clearer as we go through the session. And as always, we'll go through the rapid fire round towards the end and a reverse question to me. So, Narendra, as always, people are really waiting to listen to you, and I've been boring them. So let's get an energetic start to this session. while everyone here, may be in awe of your fast track growth, I'm sure you have had your own vulnerable moments. So let our audience know what has been your scariest moment.
Okay. That's a good way to go, Jagdish. Rising me high out there and then starting with my vulnerabilities. First, thank you so much for inviting me on this show. We had a lot of conversation in our prep time, and I've loved interacting with you, and I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. Whatever little way I can share my journey to the audience, and if in any way it helps them, I think that will be a fantastic achievement. Okay, so to the tough question around vulnerability. I've had a lot of challenges, vulnerabilities in this journey. The one that has always stayed with me and sort of has been sort of a pivotal point for me was around my final placements during IM. um, Coming from a lot of health scare, I'd gone through a lot of health challenges. There were family issues, financial issues, and I was getting into the final placements around that time with almost negligible confidence. And I still remember I was shortlisted by Cognizant, and we were required to do this video interviews, each one of us. So it was very simple, right? You had to do like a 1 minute recording and submit it to the company. I had written down my 1 minute introduction, and I tried. I learned it by heart. I came on camera. I tried. I couldn't do it. I tried cheating. I put the sheet in front of the screen so I just had to read through this and I couldn't do it. I went absolutely blank. I think, and I've not had like stage fright or anything, and this was really simple. I just had to read through, but I was so low at that point of time. My mind, my heart was just not in the right place, the right zone to be able to do this, and the fear of failure was so humongous and overwhelming. I just couldn't do it that night. I think that was my most vulnerable moment. And the fact that I could come out of it and have done what I've done has given me tremendous confidence that any one of us can face any challenges in life.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I think that's great, Narendra. I mean, sharing your most vulnerable moment with our audience. We are all humans, and we have our weak moments. In fact, I've heard it many times that the best leaders, they don't hide their vulnerabilities. They come across as human beings, who have their ups and downs, and it's not always like this this charade that they carry. And thanks for sharing that. So now let's get back to the audience. In our audience, we have observed through LinkedIn analytics that we have CXOs, founders, IT managers, technology industry folks, and everyone comes here with a common agenda, which is to how to learn, how to succeed with technology transformations, and to break that 17% jinx, which is 83% of technology programs failing to deliver business value. So let's see who we have here. And for all of you, please do share your name and where you are joining from in the comment box of YouTube and LinkedIn, and that comes back to us in the studio. So thanks, Sumit, for letting everyone know. We were a little bit late, maybe a minute or two late today. Hi, Abhishek, Ballari, good evening.
Hi,
Um,
Abhishek.
yes, Sethi, sir. Um, he was my first guest on ClarITea Chat, and he keeps coming on each one of the subsequent ones, and that's
Okay.
like so encouraging for me. Thank you, sir, for being there. Amarinder has been again, a constant supporter. Thank you, Amarinder. Good evening. Uh, yeah. Then we have Ravindra Rawal. We have Dr. Amrut Urkude, CIO and IT head. Oh, that's great to know. We have CIOs interested in what we're going to talk about. We have Rakesh Khetan. another IT leader from Ahmedabad. We have Gypsum George, and we have Miraj Washi, we have Sandeep Roy, and we have Ajay Singh joining us from Bangalore. Okay, so that's great to see people joining from everywhere. I'm missing a few of my, loyal audience from one from Germany, some one from Germany, and a few from Middle East. But I'm sure they will join or they will watch the recording. Okay, let's begin the session. Narendra, let's look at the at your overview of your journey. Um, Give us a quick recap of your childhood, of your first job.
Okay. So I'm a Mumbaiite, born and brought up in a very entrenched social construct in a colony, Agrawal colony, the place, and literally surrounded by Agrawal families. And thanks to that, and my dad, who's been a role model since my early stages, as you mentioned, there's been this subconscious realization that you got to be fiercely independent, and you really got to be your own if you want to, achieve something in life. So with that, I've been through the journey of life. Uh, I've been good in education. I like playing cricket, as most of us in India do, and I really love sketching. This is something I'm really, passionate about. I don't do it as much now as I used to, but yeah, whenever I get a chance, it's sort of my break from all the challenges you have in life. So that's that. I've done my engineering from Mumbai University, got placed from campus, been with Amdocs 2 years, then Capgemini for 2 years, got married, got kid in between, was always trying for my MBA, finally cracked through, and got a couple of campuses. Finally joined IIM Indore and did my MBA, and from there on joined Unilever.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I'm sure, when you are in a boring meeting, you must be doing some doodling. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Narendra, I mean, that's a great one. Coming from a humble background and then making it to an engineer and then an MBA. That's a great one. Now let's get a quick overview of your career, which all companies you have worked in and all that.
Okay. So I started my professional career from Amdocs, a fabulous organization, technology organization, working in telecom domain. That's where I started off as a developer. Was there 2 years. Had to come back to Mumbai, so switched to Capgemini, and again was in Capgemini for 2 years. And these 4 years was what I did before MBA, and I think this 4 years is what taught me the power magic of technology, not just the power of technology. Coming from campus, you have a very theoretical understanding of tech, but when I did what I did in these companies, and I could actually see the result in real world, in the telecom domain, and big US clients like Sprint, O2, AT&T, the solutions that we are doing in CRM and all. I still remember, I was in Champaign, Illinois, in my second year in Amdocs, and there was uh, there was a live user onboarding that was being done on their Ensemble platform, and I could see in the background my code coming in the logs. I think that was lovely, right? So I think the whole magic of technology is what was amazing for me in these 4 years, and from since then I've just been a hardcore tech, aficionado since then. I did my MBA from there, and from campus, then I joined Unilever. Unilever is where I spent bulk of my experience, being in the organization close to 9 years. Did an array of roles across functions, so sales, marketing, supply chain, finance, in global, local capacities, across wearing various heads in IT. So I've done logistics, support operations. I've done service management in ERP, financial transformation, SNOP transformation. The biggest M&A for Unilever, GSK Consumer Health, and then eventually heading sales IT and driving the eB2B acceleration and pilots there before coming to Dabur as the global CIO. So yeah, that's been in a nutshell my professional journey, Jagdish.
Awesome, Naren. I remember you telling me that you started from an IT service manager role,
Yeah.
with a target of ticket reduction, and how you quickly moved into, into various roles, or you took on those responsibilities where you were bringing really the business and IT closer and closer. So, and those transformations have ranged from supply chain to finance to customer facing function. So tell us, the journey and some of your case study of coming from IT service manager, and then like getting closer and closer to the business, developing those trusted stakeholder relationships, and being like someone who's loved by business.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, So I think the appreciation of knowing your business and connecting with business came in with my role where I was, the global support lead for logistics planning solution. So in Unilever, we had deployed this tool in the space of logistics planning. What we used to call then as a bleeding edge tool, not so much as a leading edge tool, because there was a lot of challenges and issues, and I was in support operations, which meant there was a lot of firefighting I had to do. And when I entered the role, it was really in dire straits, right? uh, it meant literally being 3 days 4 days non-stop on calls, day and night, resolving issues, then driving a lot of explanations and keep jumping into issues, and it was becoming a bit of a vicious circle, and that's when me and my boss sort of stepped back, sat down, and started reflecting on what's going wrong. Why are we not able to come out of this vicious circle? And that's where when we went through the various issues, and it was already like 3 months I was in the role, and we started looking at what's happening. What we realized is there were times when we took early interventions, we were not really struggling and had a lot of time to bring more stability. Whereas if the right calls were taken late, it meant going into a lot of more challenges. What do I mean is, if the system's starting to show a little slowness, if the right calls on any sort of restart of clearing of the queues are taken early on, it prevented us a lot of forward issues you were facing, like locking of a lot of queries, locking of a lot of transactions, and so on and so forth. Because if that happened, then you had to do a lot more cleanup, lot more invasive work to restore the system and the business. And one of the big realizations was, while we were essentially the custodian of the systems, and we knew the system behavior, we knew the pattern, we knew the business process, what we were lacking is the business connect. As simple as if a business is facing an issue, by the time it came to us, after due communications, due approvals for interventions, almost half a day, one day was lost. It was that bad, right? And that's where we stood up. We went to our leader, we told him, that this is the challenge and we want to take complete ownership, and we are very confident we'll fix things. And that's where I remember we went to Brazil for 2 weeks, sat down with business, looked at all the challenges, identified a hot call mechanism with them. It was really about, you got an issue, just pick a call and let me know when you feel like it's a critical issue. Trust me, Jagdish, that simple intervention of directly speaking with business and knowing, where the business can reach out to you, gave us tremendous time and space to drive stability. And that simple act meant we came out of this vicious circle. Issues that were taking 3 days got resolved in 30 minutes eventually, just because we knew what's the issue. We immediately knew what sort of action we are required to restore. And that means the amount of time we got to permanently fix issues, stabilize, was phenomenal. I think this intervention not only gave us time and space, it gave tremendous confidence to the business, because they knew we're working in the interest of the business and we know the business process. We always knew the business process. So when we then went on to the acceleration journey, in terms of rolling it out across other markets, for the first time, I saw support playing a very critical role in the entire journey. Uh, So that, I think, was one example where out of need, I realized the importance of business connect. And when I then switched into the finance transformation role, my role was defined to lead delivery, which essentially means there's a team who sort of works with business, defines the process, design, and I gotta manage the delivery teams and do delivery. And and this is something I really give credit to Unilever, to my leaders there, to my seniors there, and my peers. One thing they've always sort of appreciated, recognized, and pushed me towards is to break barriers, not be bound by my role, not necessarily sort of stick to what I'm doing. Yeah, that's where I raised my hand, showed interest in doing business connects directly for a set of countries. And I remember my business lead, then she was absolutely joyous, and my colleague in the business partnering layer also was absolutely forthcoming, and I got Asia, and it tremendously helped me in my journey. Because after some initial guidance, I was able to go directly to countries, partner with CFOs, their finance team, look at the processes, redesign those processes, redesign the solution almost independently. And it phenomenally helped me in my forward journey. So I think these two examples really stand out in my mind, how business connect can really help you sort of, look at things differently and drive technology in the right manner. And knowing business does not mean you don't know technology. Whenever I say anything, I always believe that for a technologist, knowing technology and the ability to learn technology should be natural and should be the core. And there has to be no compromise. The effort lies in beyond. Effort lies in understanding business, engaging business, contextualizing business.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I mean, no, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the difference is made. So technology
Exactly.
on its own doesn't mean anything if it is not delivering to the business. But
Absolutely.
let me quickly summarize, like my takeaways, Narendra, here. I mean, you came from a support role, and you started thinking from a business point of view. You started thinking from,
Mm.
like, the entire journey point of view, that those escalations can be minimized if we are able to intervene faster. And that means, like, we have to cut down that bureaucracy of, like, an L1 getting escalated to L2, getting escalated to
Yeah.
L3, build that hotline. And I think that was, like, that is really thinking from a business point of view, that L1, L2, L3, if it doesn't work, then it's time to change it, right? It's time to
Yes.
get into a hotline mode. I think the other thing, from your finance transformation, it's like, you ask for it, you ask for responsibility, ask for ownership, and you will get it. And it's actually, worth asking for it,
Yeah.
whether you get it or not. So I remember, this reminded me of my own first year as a CIO. And I went to for my first strategy presentation to the management committee. And I said, listen, we have, like, this so many plants and so many functions, and there are no common processes. And so how do you expect us to, optimize, or, like, even build, let's say, an organization by dashboard?
Mhm.
And I said, okay, I want to know, like, somebody who will take process calls. And everyone was looking around, and I raised my hand. I said, like, I can be the process custodian of the organization if you all allow me to. And everyone was happy to, like, give me the monkey. And I
Yeah.
think we just took that mandate and ran with it. So, it's just
Yeah.
like sometimes you just raise your hand and you get it. That's really awesome. And I think those are the kind of attitudes that got you in, in those business facing roles, and helped you bring IT to the front and center again, like part of our theme, right? So let me move on to the next one, Narendra. Um I think here, I mean, you have been breaking, like, some of those, established norms, and you've been thinking very independently. So one of the things that, really came to me is that you are your own man. You're really independent. You're willing to take risks, not really living in your comfort zone, and your decisions are your own. So tell us, how. But this also means that, there's a discomfort of standing out. There's a discomfort of not falling in line. and therefore, like, earning the ire of whether it's your dad or whether it's your, bosses. So tell us some of, your independent life changing decisions, and, like, how you stood by them, how they changed your life.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, so yeah, I think I've never sort of broken barriers for the sake of it, but like I said, there's always been this intrinsic, uh, feeling there, or something that has been inculcated in me right from my early days, that I gotta understand and take a right call at any point of time. Eventually, I'm accountable for my decisions, right? So for me, I remember, I actually was the first in the family to do an intercaste marriage, and this is back in 2009. And of course, it was not received well then, uh, right? Of course, because of the social construct in which we were living. But I knew from my heart that it's the right thing to do, and I did it. And now there are much more cases in our family, and I'm taken as an example. Me and my wife are taken as an example of someone who did the right thing then, and hence should be the right thing to do now. Right? So I think that's a great example, and in similar vein, I always wanted to do my MBA. I started trying for my entrance right from the first year when I was in Amdocs, and I kept trying, I kept failing, and in the midst of working, I got married, and we in fact got a kid too, very early in our life, right? And the I still remember Feb is when my kid was born, and March is when I cracked my entrance and my interviews, and I got two campuses. First one was Exambi, which did not have family accommodation, which gave me a lot of heebie-jeebies as to what will happen. But as God would have it, I got into IIM Indore, and it was the first year they had family accommodation there. So everything just fell into place, right? So and eventually, when I was in IIM Indore, not only was I, ensuring that I'm academically sound and taking full opportunity of this 2 years. I also joined placement committee, and placement committees in IIMs really are driven by students. So me and my 16 member team, we actually placed close to 900 students amongst us between summers and finals. But really, my claim to fame, as I like boasting about unabashedly, is I was the only one with a wife and kid on campus. So that was again something that, in many ways, taught me a lot in life to do something like that.
Yeah,
Uh, Now,
yeah.
coming more professionally, sorry,
Go ahead, go
yeah.
ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, so coming more professionally, as I was saying, in Unilever, again, my leaders have really supported me, and in fact, kept nudging me to keep doing more than I could do. Really look at pushing to your potential than the role itself. And that's really been my attempt. When I started service management, I started doing support operations also within the role, which is how I got into support operations. Then, when I was in support operations, I started working more on innovations, which is what got me into innovation, then business partnering, so on and so forth. So, I think really pushing the boundaries on my roles really led me to an accelerated journey towards my next role. So, uh, that was how sort of my breaking the barriers journey has been in Unilever. And now, getting into Dabur really has been in similar vein. Where I've not done what I'm doing at Dabur. It's a different organization. It's a fabulous organization. We really want to step up our digital transformation journey. But of course, we are very, very cognizant as an organization of the challenges. So for me, managing the breadth, managing a very different organization at a different stage in the transformation journey is absolutely thrown me out of my comfort zone. And like I said, it's frustratingly exciting. And yeah, the attempt is really to bring the best of me and deliver value to my business.
No, awesome, awesome. So, let me just summarize what I took away from this. So it's not about being independent, or, like, taking your own decision. It's actually about taking the right decision. And many a times, taking the right decision means that you have to stand up for yourself, right? It means that what a decision that's right for you may not be liked by others, but you
Absolutely.
have to stand by that. You have to have that confidence, and I know, I think the belief and the rigor of taking that decision, that yes, it's the right decision for me. By the way, to all the audience, as I was as I and Narendra were talking and preparing about this one, we were like, oh my god, there were like so many common things, like starting from the fact that they are four brothers, we are four brothers, starting from the fact that like, I mean, mine was also the first intercaste marriage in my family, and I think similar discussion, and I didn't want to get married without my parents' permission, and I kind of like kept pushing them till they agreed to it. So a lot of those commonalities, but yeah, I think that's also the common thing which resonates with me, Narendra, is that doing the right thing for yourself, and then trusting that and trusting your own decisions, and not really bothering about how it discomforts others. In fact, sometimes how it discomforts you yourself. I mean, I think when you left Unilever, you were so well placed. I'm sure if you
Yeah.
hadn't become Dabur Group CIO, you might have become Unilever Group CIO maybe a few years later. But I think
Yeah.
that was a part of like discomforting yourself and taking your own decision.
Yeah.
So Naren, let's move on. Like one of the things that I kind of talk about and I mentor people about is like being data driven. Not really keeping your
Mm.
emotions aside. Sometimes even keeping like what your normal SOPs are aside and just focusing on data. So tell us a couple of examples of data driven decision making, which I really see standing out in your case.
Yeah. So I'll start with my own experience there. My first role in Unilever, when I was service management, we were essentially on this very ambitious journey to sort of transform the support operations globally. We were gradually moving to a very localized, to a very global sort of support management structure, right? And hence there was a lot of hiring, lot of re-looking at how support is being managed, so on and so forth, right? And one of the areas that was being looked at is all of these application issues that are coming through the entire ticketing systems, right? And there was a big focus on optimizing this so that the outcome support model that you get is an efficient model, right? Uh, I because I was doing service management, I had access to the entire data on ticketing, and just sort of curiosity, I started looking at the entirety of the ticketing, issues that we had. So, which meant I started looking at the remaining 80% of the issues that were there. And once I started, putting those pivots, started analyzing those at different cuts, what I realized is there is this pattern of a particular type of issue around passwords, and I'm talking about 2013 then, right? And I saw there's this huge chunk of password issues that are coming to the service desk, and which require human intervention to be reset uh, there. And that was 30% of the 80% of the issues that I was looking at, right? So that was a huge chunk. And that's where again I went back to my seniors and the technical experts and told them this, and they liked the analysis. They liked that there's something out there which is seeming like a low hanging fruit, which needs to be looked into and solved for. And because I remember my boss said, since you've got it, why don't you solve it? So I said, okay, let me try. And because it was predominantly in SAP, I engaged my SAP experts. They looked at it, and we were finally able to get a very native automation. And this was when there was no RPA, nothing, right? A simple enterprise portal was created, an RFC connection was created, and all that was there is a user, if he forgets his password or an account is logged, they can click on the portal and a email comes to him or her, with the unlocked password, right? It was as simple as that. And uh, fabulous. I remember in about 6 months time, 20% of that 30%, as in 20% of the overall password resets disappeared, because now the users can do it on their own, and not only it optimized your service desk, which is a very easy win per se, but the sheer delight it gave to the business users. Because if you go to a help desk, they take their own time because they have a pipeline they got to manage, right? So I think, to me, how you look at data, and not just that, how you actually take action on those data points, on the insights that you generate, can mean tremendous power, right? And at that early stage, I saw the power of data in my career, right? And beyond that, it's always been, around ensuring that whenever I look at something, whether it was in my OTM, whether it was looking at my transformation journey in SOP and all, always looked at data first, because that speaks truth. And that sort of meant, I also drive the power of data and analytics to business in their operations. So whether it was doing the entire data analytics platform setup for our first acquisition in Unilever, to now in Dabur, where we are really setting up an analytics hub, really comes from that, belief in data.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I think this being data driven, always I believe that it's a part of a mindset. So it's like
Yeah.
putting your own, what do you call, your own opinions and your own, perceptions aside, and forcing yourself to look at the data, and trust that data. Doesn't come easy, Narendra, I can tell you. I mean, one of the things that I have had to fight, all my life, is for people to make people look at the data as it is, and not really, go into ifs and buts of those. So, yeah, similar example, in my case, when I used to have this monthly governance with my outsourcing partner,
Mhm.
one of the things that I really used to grill them about is that how much of due diligence they have done on the patterns and various cuts, location wise cuts, function wise cuts, and all of that. And just that questioning
Yeah.
made them analyze and work on that data, and work on those ticket volumes month after month.
Mhm.
So, Naren, like something again, coming from our prep chat, when you were giving some, when I think you had to lead a finance transformation, if I'm correct,
Yeah.
and it was public cloud, and that was your first brush with public cloud. So,
Yeah.
what was that experience, and what are some of your, I would say, first-hand learnings about public cloud
Oh, yeah.
adoption?
Yeah. I remember that this is when, in the entire finance performance management space of financial forecasting, in Unilever, we were landing the first public cloud solution out there, right? And it was a completely first experience for us. Not only was it public cloud, it was a Hypercube solution, both of which were very new when we were deploying them. This was, if I remember correctly, somewhere around 2016, and we were facing a lot of challenges, at the face of it. There were a lot of performance issues we were facing, because, it required a lot of, looking at how you're configuring on public cloud differently from how you're used to doing it, on-prem and all. And I had experienced private cloud during my logistics planning days. The tool that we were deploying there was a private cloud tool. And I remember whenever we faced performance challenges, there was this habit of going at a DBA level and making a lot of changes, tune the performance. Sorry, and it meant we really started overcomplicating the tool, because rather than trying to optimize a process or try to optimize on the front end, we were taking the easy route of going in the back end and start tuning queries, doing a lot of jugaad sort of solution. So knowing how private cloud can lead to lot more complexities, I had a firm belief that public cloud is the right answer. You got to push yourself, you got to push your business to do a little more standardization and a more front end based solutioning. And when we were facing a lot of issues in this journey, I remember, one, because I myself wanted to appreciate what is density, sparsity, cube, and all. I actually got my hands dirty and took a module and tried to code on my own, so at least I can understand and appreciate what do they mean when the technical teams come and tell me certain jargon words. and then it gave me a good sense of, okay, what are those buttons you got to pull to get the solution in place, right? And once I gained that confidence, I remember my leader telling, doesn't seem to be working, should we just go back to the drawing board and switch, or step back from our cloud strategy? And I'd requested just 2 months from him, to solve this, and he kindly gave me those 2 months. And it was not easy, because we were talking about North America and Indonesia businesses, the toughest business, one of the toughest business in Unilever, right? But he took on that pressure and gave me those 2 months, and we were able to turn it around eventually. Because I believe in technology, if you put your best foot forward, you eventually do get the solution, and we were able to solve it. Not only did we solve North America and Indonesia, because we were on public cloud and we were dealing predominantly with front end configurations and not a lot of back end complexities, we actually did an accelerated rollout to 23 MCOs, which is close to 100 countries in Unilever in 1.5 years. And it was predominantly because we chose the public cloud route. Had we gone private cloud, my sense is that 1.5 years possibly would have gone to 3 years. So yeah, I do believe public cloud is definitely the right, first attempt any organization should do as far as products go.
Yeah. So Narendra, I think again, like my habit of summarizing it. So your applications, when they're designed for your own data center, right, or for your own private cloud. By the way, somebody told me that there cannot be something called private cloud. Of course, with with the size of Unilever, you can create that kind of like consumption-based models and all of that. But anyway,
Right.
so I think the key learning here is that when look at the design of your application, design and architecture of your application, and you have to sort of unlearn a lot of what you have built in, optimizing it for your own data center rather, and then like retune it for cloud. The second probably thing is that cloud brings in a lot of its own management capabilities and automations and tools and all. And if you're not using them just because you ported an application to the public cloud, then you're not really getting your money's worth, and then you will find that cloud is expensive, right? So thanks for sharing that, Narendra. Now let us time to give Narendra a pause and a bit of breather and go back to our audience. So in the beginning, I had asked people to share where they are joining from. So let me just acknowledge a few more of them. Ashish Kumar, hi Ashish. We have Manoj from Ease My Trip. Hey Manoj, yeah, good to see people from the cloud-born, digital-born companies joining this. And Jay Thomas, he was our Christmas guest. Hey, thanks Jay for joining this. Then we have Prakash, we have Mukesh, we have Chitish Kotak. Hi everyone, Pratik Garg. Okay, so Narendra, here is the question coming your way from Amrinder. Thanks for sharing your vulnerable moment, Narendra. I have had a similar one in economics presentation during my MBA at FMS, and then did a great comeback after a few weeks. Oh my God, Amrinder, sorry man. You always ask a questions. I thought you have asked a
Good to
question.
hear. Good to hear, Amrinder.
I'm sure
Yeah.
he has asked the question afterwards. Yeah, you wanted to say something, Naren?
No, I was saying it was good to hear from Amrinder and his story.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it happens to all of us, that is stage fright,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
we all go through our low moments. But yeah, point is to bounce back from that, right? So we have Rakesh Dhar, then we have Vishwajit. We have lots of comments from Divya, sort of playing back, those learnings. Um, yeah. Hey, thanks Divya for playing back those learnings. Now let me go back to questions.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Divya.
Amrinder cannot be without a question. So question to Naren from Amrinder. What is your take on the rise of D2C brands in India? How will this space evolve in the next few years? And how do you use technology to build trust with the customers?
Yeah. Okay. That's a complex one, to be honest, because D2C is out there, proliferated big time, and we have a lot of players now. Just in the last 1 year, the amount of players we've got in this space have increased 10x. Uh, I think in a few years, D2C is bound to grow exponentially. The way e-commerce has grown, D2C is bound to grow, especially with the consumer base now transforming from what we have today to millennials, Gen Z, who essentially look at their mobiles to communicate, engage with brands. So absolutely an area where D2C is bound to grow. uh, I think where sort of the fundamental challenges lie in D2C today is one, the ability of organizations and brand to give a healthy consumer basket, and that sort of draws them to your D2C site to engage and buy. So how do you get a good mix of digital first brands which really make it worth a consumer basket buy is going to be a big lever for the industries. The second aspect is the last mile. Last mile continues to be a very complex and a costly solution today. But a lot of innovations are happening in this space. A lot of players, exciting players, are coming into the space, right? But I think as we speak today, especially for industry, last mile is where there's huge costs and huge complexities which require to be solved for, which hopefully in a couple of years will start coming into play. Third, then comes how do you engage your consumers, which sort of links to building trust with consumers. All said and done in this world of digital marketing, there's too much noise that a consumer has to bear, you know, across the board. And really, he or she many a times is not getting what they're looking for. So I think this whole evolution of personalized marketing, where still a lot of probabilistic approaches are taken, I think that evolution, so that you're reaching the right consumers at the right time with the right messaging, and hence you're connecting with them at the time they want to be heard, is going to be very very important, right? So to me, over the next 3 years, these three areas will definitely evolve: your portfolio, the last mile, and your engagement, personalized engagement with consumers. And all of this, of course, will come with tech, right? So when I say these are the three big evolution areas, they will come with tech capabilities behind this. And tech is definitely going to be a lot of plug and play as we move today, because it's a little more complex. It will start becoming a lot more plug and play in the coming years.
Absolutely. And direct to consumer means that it has to be technology enabled. Otherwise, it can't be direct, right?
Absolutely.
And there's another, maybe a follow-up question from Rakesh here. And I think he's asking a question about the supply chain last mile and the middle mile. So last mile you answered that the challenges out there. It's still costly, but I think there's enough innovation happening there. What about the middle mile, the channel?
So at Dabur, we've embarked on this D2C journey, right? We've started something, and the idea is really to learn fast and progress fast. As Mohit, our CEO, says, we gotta keep progressing rather than try to be perfectionists. So with that sort of approach, we're really taking on D2C head on. As far as the supply chain piece goes, here is where we are looking at lot of partnership models. We are already in a partnership to do our ex depot sort of fulfillments today. Idea is to understand how that entire journey of picking, packing, inventory management to distribution happens to the end consumer, and then keep evolving from them, where we bring in a lot more partnerships or look at our distributors in this journey and leverage them, or maybe our retailers also to do this. So these are areas where we are doing a lot of assessments, understanding, explorations to get it right.
No, absolutely. And I think you nailed it, Narendra. I think um, perfection is the enemy of progress. So, keep evolving it. Things are changing very dynamically. So, anyway, the goalposts will keep shifting. So better, like, keep experimenting, keep learning, and keep evolving, and keep looking out, for what all the capabilities the ecosystem is building, and just leverage them. So, yeah, there's another question from Pawan Roy. Maybe let's make it a rapid fire, Naren,
Sure.
in the interest of time. And you work towards using historical data for predictive demand and supply.
Oh,
How did
absolutely.
you do that?
Absolutely. Tremendous work being done. I mean, when you look at predictive, it's not just historical data, right? We're talking about external data, we are talking about offtake data, consumer behaviors. So we are in fact moving beyond historical data and really starting to get into more external data to do predictive demand supply planning or demand sensing, as we call it, right? So a lot of work happening in that space.
Yeah. Okay, great. And we have a hello from Lalita Agrawal. Oh, looks like I've been disconnected.
Yeah, I think what a bit network issues, Jagdish.
Yeah, I'm actually in Almora for everyone who doesn't know. I told this to Narendra. I'm in Almora. I'm on a Uttarakhand tour. Came home after 3 days. Still trying to trust the hotel Wi-Fi, which is, of course, patchy as people are watching Netflix and YouTube. So I was just saying, Narendra. Lalita Agrawal says hello. So we know her.
I might be wrong, but I think she's my mom. So yeah.
Ah, okay. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let
Yeah.
us let's move on to the next one, Narendra. I mean, that is about managing the M&A, handling the IT integration of M&As. Share some of your change management challenge, and, like, what was the context in which this M&A was getting managed?
Yeah. I think this was one of the most interesting projects, and definitely a very challenging project for all of us who were onto this journey in Unilever. First and foremost, because we just didn't know what to expect. It was an absolutely new journey for us, full of ambiguity. There were a lot of legal aspects we need to understand. There was a lot of unknown. It was a completely new organization, new set of people, new processes. GSK came in with a lot of pharma legacy, and as the systems, the processes were driven, and there was very little information with which we had to work, right? What we realized at a very very early stage is the power of planning. Very very early when I got into this journey, even if there was very little information, we started doing a lot of planning. We started drawing a lot of objectives. What does the success look like? What are those key deliverables we got to do? What is the plan going to look like? So that it started putting a lot of method to the madness that was going on, because uh, it could have been something that just went all over the place, right? The moment we start doing a lot of planning, start putting things in paper, we were able to start visualizing how a day one will look like. And once we started engaging with our colleagues in the GSK consumer health business, we were able to do a lot of validation, lot of correction, lot of improvement from what we had originally sort of assumed and drafted. So I think the power of planning was something that was tremendously learned in this journey, and the power of communication. How do you keep communicating? We couldn't have worked in silos in this. Across functions, between functions, tech and functions, and across organizations. There was an absolute need for communicating again and again. I think these were the two big tenets for us as far as this integration goes. And uh, yeah, from there on, it was just about doing this. And in fact, one of the things we say is we actually did our day one during COVID time. I remember 1st April was the day one, and 23rd March the lockdown was announced, and we went back and had to rechange all our plans. We went from plan A to B to C to Z, as we say it. We redid a lot of engagement contracts with the organization. We changed our approach to cutover. We went to live. We were supposed to do a lot of physical activities, and with the lockdown, somehow we, managed those. So I think because we created a lot of plans, we were able to manage such huge complexity in such an ambiguous project of GSK integration. That was one area, planning and communication. The second, of course, is employees. I still remember how Sanjeev said, while we need to have a vertical takeoff on day one, his top priority is people. How do you ensure the people have a great experience of joining Unilever and are not suffering through the entire integration challenges that might come in the process? So for us, how we were engaging with our colleagues in the consumer health business, how we were pre-boarding them, and we had created one of the first pre-boarding apps for those colleagues at that point of time. And I think that made a lot of difference. We did a lot of chatbot, we did a lot of cutover clinics, we did this app. I think the engagement we were able to do along with business leaders, business teams, yielded phenomenal success for us. And the joy the employees had of joining Unilever was really amazing. We ran a pulse and we got feedback, and it was a joy to read that feedback. So I think these to me were the two critical pieces, employee empathy and managing through planning were big areas, Jagdish.
Yeah, sorry, Narendra. Sorry, I had a bit of connectivity problem, but I could see that you continued, and thanks for doing that, Naren. Like
Yeah.
part of the failover planning that we discussed initially. Narendra, let me move on to the next one. I mean, this is some insights about the organization culture. You did refer to it in in one of your in one of the questions that the leaders allowed to do things in Unilever. So tell us, like maybe about three, four, I would say, the cultural strengths of Unilever, and the more trickier question is how are you trying to build an IT culture in Dabur?
Yeah. Okay. So see, both Unilever and Dabur, for that sake, while culturally have their nuances, are very similar. I think the sheer focus on people and the value of people to drive business growth is something that I've seen very very common to both these organizations. I've had, as you mentioned, and I was telling, I've had the grace of having some great leaders, peers, from whom I've learned, and that journey in Dabur has absolutely continued. For me, the standout has been the independence and the autonomy you get. How do you trust your people to deliver those outcomes? So rather than getting into the nitty gritties and micromanagement of things, how do you really give them an area and give them time and space and let them come to you for guidance? Is a very very important cultural aspect that really differentiates organizations, right? So that's one. Second is learnability. How organizations bring a lot of opportunities in various ways through formal learning platforms or through various career opportunities or through sheer engagement with your people around you. How do you bring those learning opportunities to individuals and talents is a second big differentiator that any organization sort of brings as far as building a very strong performance culture goes, right? So to me, these are the two big standouts, Jagdish. And I think third is more individual driven, I would say, as far as talent goes. How I, as an individual, and how someone I would look at as an individual to do is, how do you go out and reach people? One thing we got to realize is as we keep growing in our career, you cannot be spoon fed for anything, right? You gotta fight your battles, you gotta hunt your game, you gotta reach out to people. So how do you, while you do delivering to your role, how do you keep pushing boundaries, as we spoke about? How do you also start building a rich network of individuals with whom you can actually develop yourself? Nobody, I could never have done whatever I've done on my own. It is only because I always reached out to my team members, my peers, my seniors, my leaders, my mentors, and I reached out to them with my challenges. I sought their support, their guidance, and I learned a lot from them. Is I could do what I could do. So, if anyone as an individual thinks that they could just do it on their own, I think I strongly believe they're bound to fail, right? So how do you build your network and leverage your network is very very important.
No, I think those are good ones, Naren. Like independence, letting your people free. In fact, in my advisory, sometimes I have to actually sort of force the CEOs that I advise that guys. I mean, no, trust your people. You demand outcomes from them, not activities, right? And you don't need to really because you micromanage activities. You can only macromanage outcomes, right? And
Absolutely.
then the second one is like creating a learning culture, right? Focus on learning, and I think part of that also is experimenting, right? Allow people to run some experiments like they did with you, right? I mean, you said, hey, I want to try this. Why not try that? I think the third very important thing is like networking, and I do know that these large organizations like Unilever, and I worked in GE, and one of the things I learned from there is like how do you create networking opportunities? Like just keep getting people into a mix. People who don't know each other, and let them kind of just get to know each other and all that. But I think very importantly, building your network by reaching out to people. When you don't know anything, acknowledge it and then reach out to the people who know that. And I think in great organizations, I'm yet to see any organization where people say that no, I won't help you. My expertise will be lost if I share it with you.
Yeah.
But I think the more
Doesn't.
important, which we keep telling as leaders to people is that you may be refused, but at least ask, right? Because if you don't ask, you will never get. If you ask, you might get it 50% or 60% of the time. So you're better off asking. Great, Narendra. I think some really good insights. How I mean, how a young leader's career has panned out, and what are some of the learnings, insights, and attitudes and behaviors that you have that have brought you here. And I'm sure there's a lot of value that it adds to our audience. I know we are about 5 minutes over time, but if you're okay, we can go a few more minutes and then
Absolutely.
finish off our rituals. So
Absolutely.
we are now we are now down to our rapid fire questions. I don't have some of them because you did cover them. My rapid fires was what was your claim to fame in I'm Indore, and you answered it.
I'm so sorry.
No, no, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, whenever it comes, whether part of rapid fire or during the
Yeah.
chat, it's always welcome. So let me, invite my audience to ask you any rapid fire questions. Hey guys, like just ask what you want to know about Naren. Like maybe role model or the favorite movie or whatever you want to ask for. We talked about the worst moment. You can also ask about the best moment. So go on and ask those questions. I'll bring it up and ask Narendra. For now, Narendra, a couple of my uh, you know rapid fires for you. So tell us uh, this story about breaking another social barrier, which is eating, starting to eat non-veg, and I really find the story a little funny.
Yeah, you're revealing a few secrets out there, but yeah. Actually, eating non-veg came more out of necessity than anything. So I was in Thadumul Shani, and all my friends, who were with me, and we were four of us. We've always been together. One of them is actually my wife now, and the other three used to eat non-veg, which meant whenever we went to a hotel with very little money that we had, and we'd order food, these three folks, they'd order non-veg, I'd order veg, and it happens as it happens, they'd finish the non-veg and they'd pounce on my veg, which means I was left hungry. Only solution was to start eating non-veg, so I have a fair share. I literally started eating non-veg from that restaurant.
Awesome, awesome. It's like, let me get equal with you guys. I'm going to pounce on your plates as well.
And now I eat lot more non-veg than my wife at least.
Wow. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So there's another interesting one, Narendra, which I like, which I really liked is about the test of perseverance. What was your test of perseverance?
It was, in me wanting to pursue my MBA, I was very clear, and it was not a very complicated thing in my head that I want to do my MBA. So I was trying for my entrance exams every year, year on year, till finally, of course, I succeeded. Now, what was happening, of course, was during the last year of college, we were a big group of friends studying together and trying. And as years went by, the group started reducing, because people kept dropping. Either they got through or
Yeah.
they decided to stop pursuing, right? Which meant towards the end, I was literally left with a very, very lean set of people I could work with, whom I knew, whom I could speak to, and it was fairly lonely towards the end, right? But never did the thought of not pursuing come in my head. So I was really keeping it simple. I got to keep trying, and finally I got through. So for me, I think this was one of the biggest tests of perseverance.
Awesome, awesome. And maybe one more rapid fire for you from my side, Narendra, is you know, I think becoming a young leader, there's a lot of visibility, that comes to you, not just in terms of the various programs and the professional successes that you do, but also like having a more holistic personality. So, so my question to you is like what has helped you? What can also help our audience, which sometimes people think as unnecessary, in building visibility and building a network.
Okay, see, I think one should not just think that they can do their work and automatically, visibility will come through. It definitely does, but it just comes in that circle of influence, right? So if you want to expand your circle of influence, you got to do beyond what you're doing. One of the things, for example, I did beyond doing my routine work was there were these extracurricular activities and areas which I was very fond of. So, for example, I had set up this big family day when I was in Unilever for my center. So, I was actually a champion, a talent champion there. I was an awesome place to work champion in my days in Unilever, right? This meant I was actually meeting a lot of people beyond my circle of work within the organization. And trust me, it's a huge circle out there, right? Because you don't work with everybody and anybody out there, right? And doing this gave me two things. One, it sort of helped me network with people who I would not be working with at that point of time, and actually many of those I started working with. So for example, my role in finance, in SNOP, everything came because I got connected with seniors, who were in this area. Otherwise possibly might not have, I don't know, I might not have connected, I might have connected, but this sort of created a path, sure short path for me to connect. So I think that was one big achievement. Second, because I was doing a lot of extracurricular activities and getting noticed, it was also giving me a good break from my work, which we forget. So you don't have to be forceful about doing this. It's something that you should do naturally, something that you enjoy. One should not forget to enjoy the entire process. If you force yourself into doing things, it doesn't help. So you should let it come naturally to you. That's also important.
No, I think that's a very important thing because these extracurricular activities we thought that they were part of our school and college only, and I think there are enough stories of workaholism amongst people when they become professionals. And I think the very important lesson for everyone here is to not look at it as just like I mean non-work or like non-value adding. I think the value it adds to you is in terms of building your network. And Narendra, knowing those people and then and then being considered for those programs that you ended up doing. I think that being in the consideration set itself probably came from these activities. So it helps you build the network, and of course, like it helps you de-stress, and it actually makes you a more well-rounded leader because in all these activities you can't have the command and control mechanism. It has to be an influencing mechanism. It has to be
Exactly.
more driven and all that. So fully, I mean, agree with you on that, Narendra. It's very important to do those extracurricular activities. So
Absolutely.
meanwhile, I had asked my audience to come back with some, rapid fire questions. So here is one, and of course a tricky one from Rakesh. Let me add my flavor to it, Narendra.
Okay.
You have been like in all what you have done, you have been an intrapreneur, right? Intrapreneur. When does it go to entrepreneur?
Actually, Jagdish, that was going to be my question to you. We've had very similar journeys as we were talking about, right? And this is one side you sort of explored that I have not. So I was going to ask you, what does it feel like to be there? Uh, to what Rakesh is asking, yeah, I think that bug is there in me, right? I definitely want to do something which I can call of my own, right? The idea is really to be able to do something which creates impact which is something that I sort of build completely grounds up. So maybe at some point, let's see.
Okay, okay, no, that's great, that's great. Thanks for giving an honest answer, there, Narendra. Sumit is asking. Okay, no, the next one, yeah. Which book inspires you the most?
Yeah. Uh, so I've read A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khalid Hosseini. That's my all-time favorite. I just love because it talks about perseverance in the toughest of times that an individual goes through. So that's my all-time favorite. My recent or not so recent would be The CEO Factory from Sudhir. It's a fabulous book. If you've not read it, you should absolutely read it. While it's set up in a context of HUL and FMCG as an industry, the learnings that you take away professionally from there is phenomenal.
Absolutely. In fact, I've read the Thousand Splendid Suns, and somewhere I think those stories connect. Because like coming from a troubled and those backgrounds where you feel that like somebody like a speck of dust being thrown around and then sort of building a life of your own. Yeah, that's an amazing story of perseverance. I haven't read
Absolutely.
the CEO the CX what's the CEO factory, right?
CEO Factory. Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe since we are thinking upon that, I've read a book which was about like the greatest longest I would say standing greatest organizations, which is built to last, which was
Ah,
given to me by my mother. And I think that's another phenomenal book, which talks about how do you build great organizations. So I mean, really connect with those learning. Yeah, so we are down to the last part of it, Narendra. I call it the revenge part. Where I've been asking you questions, so now you get to take a revenge, with your question to me.
yeah. So, like I was saying, Jagdish, for me, I would really love to know something that I'm very keen to learn from you is, how does it feel to be on the entrepreneurial side of the world?
I think it starts off like with a lot of hizzy bizzies, okay, which is like I mean, what they say is that the salary is an opium, which is true. So here, like you got to go out, win customers. But I have talked to multiple entrepreneurs which who always say that I should have become one 5 years back. In
Oh,
fact,
is it?
um, one of my cousins with the same name, Jagdish Chandra Velwal, I met him about 2 weeks back, and he runs his own consulting. He was in a government job, and he told me the same thing that I should have come out 5 years back. So I think there's enough demand, especially in that what do you call in the larger cross section of see, we are all enamored by those the top companies, but if you go
Mm.
beyond the like 100 or 500, there's enough entrepreneurial hunger, but there's not enough, I would say, expertise out there, which is coming from. See, there's a lot of consulting expertise which is there, but from
Yeah.
people who have been there, done that, as part of a large organization, what kind of things. So there's a lot of hunger which is there, and which is like which is the gap that need that we fulfill. Yes, so it started with uncertainty, anxiety. What happens next month? What happens next month? Thankfully, I didn't have any loans. That was an advice I had taken from people who had turned on entrepreneurs. But beyond that, I think it's more about it's been a lot of learning in terms of like how do you take all the experience and expertise have you have, and how do you sort of productize it, or how do you convert it into like those assets which people want from an expert point of view. The
Mm.
second thing I have learned is like LinkedIn. um, it's like jo dikhta hai wo bikta hai. So you have to have a certain amount of visibility, which while the big companies spend you've been in Unilever. We know how much Unilever spends on marketing and advertising. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I think the only way you can afford that kind of visibility is by using the social media platform. So I just learned it like one after the other, and I can't still say that I'm a master, because I see there are so many people who are much better at it than me, and I keep learning. And I think the biggest thing is like the freedom and the learning, because somewhere what I see is that in my CIO roles, um, sometimes it gets after a while, after you mature all the transformations,
Yeah.
many times it feels like paper pushing. The team is doing all the work, you've mentored them well, they come to you for advice, but you start feeling that plateau a little bit. But I think there can't be a plateau in entrepreneurship. You have to learn every day, you have to improvise every day. Just some of the things.
Fantastic. Yeah. Good to know. Really good to know.
Hey, thanks, Narendra. Thanks for that reverse question. Um, and thank you all, everyone in the audience, for attending and for asking your questions, for engaging. Special thanks to Divya, who was like, playing back all the stuff that we were talking. That was really awesome, Divya. And thank you all of those, who will be, who are right now watching the recorded version. I know Saturday evening is not really a very convenient time from a family point of view, but I do know that many people watch it at leisure over the weekend. So thank you all for that, and thank you again so much, Narendra, for joining me on ClarITea Chat today.
Thank you so much,
So
Jagdish. Thank you so much, audience.
yeah, and guys, everyone, we will be back next Saturday, yes, 23rd April. Till then, bye bye.